The time is now 5 p.m., Monday, November 18th, 2024. We will start the Finance and Purchasing Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Alderman Guzman.
Present.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Present.
Alderman Hayes.
Present.
Alderman Florian.
Present.
Alderman Newsom.
Present. We have a quorum. Item C, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from October 21st, 2024?
So moved.
First by Alderman Hayes, second by Alderman Donnerworth. Are there any questions to the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item D, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak items on the agenda? You can take the podium. Your name, please.
Yeah, I spoke to you people last meeting, and I gave you a document to go along with that. I'm Tom Capine, Capine Studio. I know I have 3 minutes. I didn't know then. So I want to speak to you a little bit about the process of the arts grant and how the item F today does not meet anything to do with art. The process that you set out, certainly from the beginning, because I was on the original committee, had all the right ideas. It was about finding real art to enhance the city of Waukegan. But you've seen what's happened. Integrity is a word that has many applications. Integrity is about how things hold up under stress. If you take the painting of the street, forget about whether it's art or not. The fact is the paint had no integrity and was a dismal failure. You approved a mural last week that had very little art redeeming value last month. You paid $42,000 for it. That was not the best choice, but you went ahead and approved it, and of course the council did too. One of the things that's very important is that you are prepared as council members to make sure that you know what's going on, and I don't think you really do. Now, I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but this resolution that's up here now, you do not have the amount of dollars connected to it. I don't see it in my thing. And apparently it's been also added to the committee of the whole to approve tonight. But this thing has nothing to do with art. It's signage. It's 4 letters. I offer you this. I will build you a sculpture, and I'll put the letters on it for free. If you really want to have art downtown, ask me about it. Come to me. I have a dozen examples of things you can do to enhance the city at my studio. I invite any one of you to come there. Since you've avoided since the beginning, the original agenda was a opportunity for everybody to make proposals. They rejected all of them. And then they proceeded to put this thing in that had nothing to do with the public, nothing to do with Waukegan, nothing to do with Waukegan people. And now you're about to approve it. I ask you very emphatically, maintain your integrity and do not allow this to go out of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes. My name is Neil Jose. I'm a citizen down the street here. I support everything that you just said. I had no idea we were going to be here together. Something has really gone awry here. We want to beautify Waukegan. Truly, all of us. I came here in 1985, bought a house. I want to be here. I retired, I want to live here. I want this place to be beautiful. However, what we're doing with this grant money makes no sense. I mean, you know about this. I'm not going to give you a lecture on grant money. However, how it's being spent is not worthwhile. It's not happening for us. Now, Springfield gave us money for a reason, right? To beautify Waukegan was entered into the grant. A grant because, what? The energy transition program was essential to bringing businesses into Waukegan and to make us better. But this is not making us better. And you know what? They're really good people trying to make us better in the city, the employees. I understand that. But this is not working. And the local people who are very, very responsible, very artistic, know what they're doing, are not being included. That's my point tonight. So please reconsider this. $100,000 for what? A sign that looks like a radio station sign? But, you know, I'm not an artist, but please, if you approve this, I don't know what's going to happen. We've got people here who can take care of this artistically for Waukegan. Don't leave us behind.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right, we'll move to new business, item 2, a motion to approve the minutes of the closed executive session of the Finance and Purchasing Committee meeting held on October 21st, 2024. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Alderman Donnerworth,
Second.
second by Alderman Hayes. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Item B, determination of proposed aggregate tax levy for tax year 2024 in the amount of $34,598,158 and the total levy of $37,270,342, inclusive of debt service. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Florian,
Second.
second by Alderman Donnerworth. I'm going to have Finance Director Don Schultz speak just a few minutes on the levy. And if
Thank you.
anybody has any questions, they can ask him after he finishes.
This should be a simple matter. 20 days prior to approving a tax levy, the corporate authorities make a determination of how much that's going to be. We determine how much we need to raise by taxation. We can discuss that in 20 days from now. We'll present the levy for approval. The amount we're proposing is the exact same amount, the total levy and extension last year, the year before, the year before, and the year before. This is the fourth consecutive year where the total levy and extension for debt service and our aggregate levy will be a total of $37,270,342. The number hasn't changed. What's changed is the allocation of the money across the different purposes. We levy dollars specifically for about 7 different functions. The biggest part of the levy, about 52% of the levy, goes for police and fire pension. Our police and fire pension levy is going up $1.1 million from in 2024 tax bill compared to the prior year. Garbage collection is going up $650,000, one based on a new rate increase, plus more units are being serviced. And there's a $40,000 increase for PSEBA. That's the Public Safety Employee Benefit Act, where we pay the health insurance costs for public safety employees who have gone out on a duty-related disability. So you can see those are very significant increases. Now, how can we meet those increases but still keep the levy, the total of the levy, flat? Well, we make reductions in other parts of the levy. One is capital projects, our street program. Last year, we levied about $1.9 million for streets. This year, we're lowering that to $655,000. We'll make up the difference with transfers from our home rule sales tax, and if it's ever approved, the money from RAP. Our revenue allocation plan will fund part of our street program as well. But home rule sales tax and money that's currently in the street fund will make up that difference that we're reducing the levy for on streets. But we still haven't taken care of the full amount of the increase. The aggregate levy would be your police pension, your fire pension, your garbage collection, PSEBA, and the library. The library will receive a slight increase of $94,000 or 2%. So you got a total increase in the aggregate levy of about $608,000, which is about 1.8%. Now we need to make up that 1.8% from our debt service. So what we're doing, we're abating an additional bond issue next year. We've always abated 3 bond issues using home rule sales tax, and we've abated a large bond issue using the McGaw TIF. Next year, we're going to abate the 2018 D judgment bonds, $1,336,750. We're going to abate that using money that we have in a debt service reserve fund. That'll make up the difference of $608,000 on the debt service side, offsets the increase on the aggregate side, leaving our levy flat compared to the prior year. So that's what we're doing. Any questions? I will add, although we've been very conscious of the taxpayers and trying to keep the levy flat over all these years, the city can continue to do that year after year after year. At some point, you'll have to consider some incremental increases on an annual basis. Maybe, people can accept small increases at a time. It's when you increase the levy at a large, significant sum that people can't budget for. We would never propose that. But you increase your levy by 1%, 2%, 3% a year, it's a small amount. You're talking less than $100 probably for the city's share of the tax levy on an annual basis. Or you tie it into CPI with limits, with a ceiling and a lower amount. Maybe somewhere between a low of 2%, a high of 4%, based on where CPI falls in. But at some point, you'll have to consider that, whether it's next year or the year after, but the time's coming. We might be able to go another year with a flat levy and extension for debt service, but not beyond that. Any questions?
Alderman
Alderman
Florian.
Thank you. That was a great explanation, Don. I just want to clarify a couple things. So the total we're spending on street resurfacing from fiscal 2024, 25 is not changing. We're just taking the money from somewhere else to make sure we're still spending the same amount.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. You explained with the 10% increase in the PSEBA, and it's a small dollar amount anyway, but I'm curious about the garbage collection. We just signed a new contract with them. Why did that go up almost 11%?
Well, the CPI from September to September, which the rate is based on, went up 4.1%. Also, we're including an additional 1,000 units that weren't counted in the past. I think Public Works is doing a good job working with LRS, our provider, in getting the correct number of units on the bill.
Okay, so we've increased the number of units as opposed to what the
Yes.
original contract was. Okay. Now, I have two other questions. So what happens when taxes are not paid? So like we're saying we need $37 million from the taxpayers. So what happens when someone doesn't pay their taxes? Do we still get our $37 million, or do we get less than that based on how many people do or don't pay their taxes throughout the year?
We collect approximately 98 to 98.5% of our levy on an annual basis. You never collect 100%. There's always shortages.
So we don't actually get this total amount?
Not usually, no.
Okay. Looks like you want to say something, Stu.
I was going to say, in some counties, some communities will add in a loss allowance. But, one of the things to keep in mind is that this isn't the budget. this is the levy, and, this basically kind of sets the total amount, but not allocates it. And Don, is that a correct summation of the levy? Or it sets the total for a portion of the revenues?
Alderman, what the county will do, we have to make sure we collect enough money to pay debt service, because we've promised that money to our investors. They'll add 1% onto the debt service levy to account for any uncollectible. But the other parts of the levy may be short.
Okay. So then we have to make that up in other ways? Okay. So one of the complaints I've heard recently is we're the only ones that do this, not Waukegan, but Illinois is the only one that does this, where we set the amount we need, and then we say, this is what we're taxing people. They say other places, it's the opposite. They're taxed a certain amount, and then the government has to just figure out how to make it work. Is that true?
I've only practiced in Illinois, so I'm actually not sure how tax levies work in other states.
Okay, it's, they're making it sound like we're ripping people off because we're saying, well, this is what we need. I mean, obviously, we've done a good job keeping the bottom line intact by not raising the levy for, what'd you say, 4 times now? But eventually, because our costs for employees are going up, our cost for pension is tied to that, that's going up. Eventually, we're going to have to start, like you said, incrementally raising this. I almost would suggest we do it this year, but
Alderman
it's probably
Fleury-
the wrong year to do it.
Well, I'd point out one thing that is, in Don's memo, there's a chart that shows a green line going up, which is Waukegan's growing tax base, and it shows a steady increase from 2020 to 2023. And if we just set like a tax percentage, then everybody would be charged more every year as their assessed values go up. The city is saying we need this amount, and it actually becomes a smaller and smaller percentage as the tax base goes up. Now, as Don pointed out, that won't necessarily be sufficient in future years, but as that green line goes up, as everybody's property values go up, as new things get built, like the casino, that helps take the tax burden off of individual homeowners.
I
It
understand.
doesn't give us any additional money. Our tax base can grow by $100 million, but we will still get the same amount that we levy.
I got that. Thank you very much.
Alderman Guzman?
So I understand what you're saying, Mr. Schultz, but here's the problem. 1%, 2%, 3%, I understand it's a very short amount. But if you add it up within 1% us, 5% the forest preserve, 3% the county, 2%, I don't know, whoever has can put tax on your tax bill, I mean, then you're going up, I mean, you're not talking, you're talking maybe $100 from our part, but then add everything up, you might be talking $1,000. And that's
But
the
you understand
whole
there's
issue.
no increase for the city year over year.
Correct, but.
No,
it-
it's not 1%, it's 0%.
No, I understand that, but he's talking about the future. So I feel that we should be tightening our belts a little bit tighter and trying to find new ways to receive more revenue to alleviate that burden than thinking about right away raising the levy on our residents that already have a hard time with inflation and everything else going on. So it is our job first to look for other ways of revenue before we even get to that point. And I'm glad that we are going on year 4. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
It's certainly not rocket science. We've got a couple choices. One, you find alternative sources of revenue, or you try to reduce costs. We reduce costs all the time when we do the budget every year. We're always looking for ways to cut. You can only cut so much. At a certain point, you've got to find additional sources.
Are there any other questions?
I have one.
Alderman Sylvia Bolton?
Thank you so much. Yes, Don, I believe you said we have to make up 1.8%. Can you review that again?
There's two parts of a levy. One is they call the aggregate levy. When your aggregate levy is 105% greater than the prior year, you have a public hearing. The aggregate levy includes everything except lease payments and debt service. So when you levy for pensions, levy for garbage collection, for PACEVA, for the library, for capital projects, whatever it might be, that's your aggregate levy. That's going up 1.8%. You have to offset that increase somewhere to keep the total the same. So we're offsetting it by abating more from what's due on our debt service, principal interest and outstanding bonds. We're dipping into a debt service reserve fund, which now holds about $2.5 million. We're reducing that by $1.3 million. Combined, we're offsetting the increase on the aggregate with reduced costs on the debt service and keeping it the same. I know it gets confusing.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I would just like to add, as has been noted, we have kept the levy flat for several years. We don't control the other taxing bodies. Their taxes will probably go up anyway. They may not understand that the city of Waukegan has kept their taxes flat, but they will accuse the city of raising their taxes anyway. So we don't have any control over that. So hey, we can find other taxing, other resources, but still the bottom line is they'll go up anyway. All right, item C, a resolution approving an agreement with Garland.
Don't we have to vote on that,
Yeah.
or no?
Oh,
Yeah,
we
so,
do.
so a motion to make a determination of the
okay,
2024
we already
tax.
have, I'm sorry, we already have a motion on the floor. Alderman Florian, Alderman Donnerworth. Roll call, please.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye, motion carried. Sorry about that. Item C, a resolution approving an agreement with Garland DBS, Inc. for the 2024 roof replacement project at Fire Station Number 1 through Omnia Partners in an amount not to exceed $57,017. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I so move.
Motion by
Second.
Alderman Guzman. Second.
Second by Alderman Florian.
Second by Alderman Florian. The Waukegan Fire Department would like to replace the roof, skylights, and gutters at Station Number 1. The roof is beyond the recommended lifespan and would require additional maintenance. We have secured the Omni bid and Garland DBS. The bid proposal from CIC is $57,017 for complete removal of the existing roof components and new installation. The funding GL code is 307-130-726368. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye, motion carried. Item D, a resolution waiving competitive bidding and approving a contract with Castro Homes Remodeling LLC for remodeling of the city's new 911 call answering dispatch center, an amount not to exceed $300,000. Can I get a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Florian,
Second.
second by Alderman Donnerworth. Staff recommends the City Council authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Castro's Home Remodeling LLC and Element Contracting LLC for the renovations and construction of the new 911 center. Are there any questions to this motion?
In the motion, it only mentioned Castro's. Do we need to correct that to include the element contracting?
Castro's is basically serving as the GC on this, and so they're going to be the contracting party, and Element will be a sub of theirs. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes. Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye. That was quick. All right, item E, resolution approving change order number 1 by a good faith waiver for the Deegan Group for environmental engineering at the former BRP site located at 200 East Seahorse Drive in an amount not to exceed $45,466.10, bringing the total contract amount to $79,226.10. Can I get a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Motion by Alderman Donnerworth,
Second.
second by Alderman Florian. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call.
Chair, if I could make a quick comment?
Sure,
Just looking at this resolution and the contract, and I'm going to take full responsibility for this. A good faith waiver is actually not required on this. These are the types of services, professional services, that are an exception to the policy. So this does not require a good faith waiver, even though the resolution reflects it, and I apologize for the oversight.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye, motion carried. Item F, a resolution approving a professional service agreement with Outshaped LLC for the manufacturing of a public art installation. Can I get a motion on the floor, please?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Hayes, second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Guzman. Okay, this matter was held over at November 4th, 2024, Community Development Committee by Alderman Felix. The Community Development Committee referred it to the Finance and Purchasing Committee in order to maintain the grant timeline for expenditure of funds. Alderman Felix, did you have any other questions? I know you.
No, I met with the team. They explained everything to me.
All right.
I don't have any further questions.
Are there any other questions, Alderman Florian?
Yes, I'd like to know, and it's probably in the packet, and I have to be honest, I haven't read the whole grant. If we didn't spend this money on public art, would we be spending it on lead pipes instead?
Our Director of Planning and Zoning, Noel.
Good evening, Alderman. This portion of the grant was specifically for public art. There was a section for lead lines and a section for public art. So this $400,000 in total.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that this money couldn't be spent on lead pipes.
Or anything else, that's correct.
Okay, so I've admitted publicly up here before that I don't understand art. I either like it or don't, and sometimes really expensive stuff like the Mona Lisa, not impressive to me. I saw it in person. Other stuff that I see in a $10 thing at Target, I really like. So what do I know? But it says here that art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as a painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. I just don't see that with this sign. I mean, 4 letters for $100,000, I just don't get it. It doesn't look like art to me. Going to a sign company doesn't seem like art to me. Even though I just admitted I don't always know what art is, but I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings who put their heart and soul into this, but this just doesn't seem like it creates what I would define based on this definition of art as art.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question.
Councilman Hayes?
Some of the language in the packet is the Waukegan identity sculpture. Excuse me. Is the money allocated only for a Waukegan identity sculpture, or is that just what we honed in on to spend the money on? Like, could it be applied, the $125,000 to something else, or $100,000?
So our original application, the ideas that came to that for public art came from a public meeting that we had in this room in May, maybe April of 2023, where we asked the public what they wanted to see us use this money for. So the identity sculpture, as well as crosswalks, murals, all of those things came out of those public conversations, members of our community providing input. And people like the idea of these signs with letters showing where they are. People use them on socials. You know, you see the I Heart NY. Cleveland has one. People sit in the sea and take their pictures and all of that. So whether or not we consider it on an individual basis art, it still meets the intent of the grant in terms of providing economic development benefit to the community. That's the ETC grant intention. Because of the loss of the power plant, we theoretically lose economic development value in the community, and so art helps bring that back. In terms of whether we can use it on other things, I didn't realize that was you behind me, sorry. We would have to, I believe, amend our grant agreement, because the grant agreement specifically says, and I can actually read you the language, I believe you have this in front of you. Pardon me if I put on another set of eyes. It looks like this. This is the first page of your little packet is Exhibit A from the grant agreement. You can see that's where it comes from, because in the upper right corner it says agreement number, and in the lower right corner it says State of Illinois Grant Agreement fiscal year 2024. So this is Exhibit A to the grant agreement. The first portion of the first sentence, grantee must complete the award activities described in this Exhibit A. In the first paragraph of the project description, right about the middle of the paragraph there, and the middle of the page, the ETC grant program will provide grants to support economic development in communities. So that's the broader explanation. Then if you flip the page over, the rest of that page talks a lot about the lead service line process. Then the second full sentence of the first partial paragraph. Remaining grant funds will be used to enhance downtown public spaces through art. These commissioned works of art include sculptures, murals, streetscape, and painted crosswalks, sidewalks, and streets. Specifically, grant funds will include the construction costs associated with the project as follows: consultant services and expenses to include costs associated with public art commission and expenses for sculptures, murals, streetscaping, and painted crosswalks, sidewalks, and street. And then in the very last sentence of that, the completion of this project will benefit the public both by removing the lead water lines and enhancing the visual appeal of the downtown area. So that's the grant agreement. Those are the things that are expected to be performed. So,
okay. Thank you. So it can be used for other forms of art if we don't approve this particular sign?
with an amendment, I believe.
Okay,
The
so,
identity sculpture was specifically outlined in the application.
okay, that's helpful, thank you. So we would have to amend to tell them that we want to do a different type of art.
I believe that we would.
What's the likelihood of that being approved?
Hard to say. I don't know that answer.
Have we amended grants like this in the past, and how's?
Not this grant for this funding source. We've amended other grants, sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did we say that the identity sculpture was going to be letters? Or did we just say
Yes.
it was going to be an
In the
identity
application,
sculpture?
If you look at that memorandum,
Yeah.
it's in that box.
front page of the staff memo that's posted on board docs, there's a box in the bottom. Right above the box, it says excerpt from the application is provided below. So that box is the excerpt. Says the community has expressed interest in public art that welcomes visitors and residents into the downtown while also providing an opportunity for photos and gathering. There were many comments on artwork that spells out Waukegan and draws people to the downtown. Using that feedback, the city has decided to designate $125,000 of the funding toward a sculpture spelling out Waukegan. The sculpture will welcome people to the downtown, provide space for photos and connection while connecting to the unique Waukegan identity. The identity sculpture will be painted and displayed along the east side of Sheridan. Plan of action for the Waukegan identity sculpture is, 1, identify a manufacturer or sculptor to build the letters, et cetera, et cetera. That was in the application for which the grant was approved.
And I asked this question before, and I've gone to other communities, and I've seen the letters spelled out, and they look very nice, different colors and everything, but they're spelled out. Why is Waukegan not spelled out? I mean, I would like it if it was Waukegan spelled out, not WKGN. Do people know what that is?
Sure. That's certainly an option. You know, WAUK is an option that was discussed. WKGN was an option. Spelling out Waukegan was an option. Part of it is because we were looking for very, very tall letters, 7-foot tall letters, 8-foot tall letters. So having enough horizontal space to have the whole word Waukegan that size is a challenge.
Can it be moved to a different location?
Potentially. Though we did a lot of work to figure out what the right location was so that you have a nice tourism-based background, that it's on already owned public property, that kind of thing.
Okay. Any other questions?
One thing I did want to mention, when you guys say that people can stop by and take pictures, there's actually no place to stop by and take pictures, right? Like that space right there.
Where the location we've identified on the east side of Sheridan, excuse me, at Paravonian Park, would allow people to stand in front of it on the grass, and for somebody else taking a picture to be off the street, on the public right-of-way, on the sidewalk, or on the grass, and take a picture that includes the whole thing as well as the background with the lake behind it. So it is a safe place to take pictures.
Okay.
Just one last question. So we say here, if you're taking it literally, a sculpture spelling out Waukegan, but we don't have to amend the grant to just abbreviate Waukegan?
No, we included that it could be
It could be
a
abbreviated.
four-letter representation of Waukegan.
All right.
If it, you know, it could be WAUK instead of WKGN at the
Sure.
same price, because
I'm-
it's still 4 letters. And
Okay. I guess I'm like really struggling with it because I don't really like it. I don't like it. I agree that it sounds like a radio station. If that's what we have to use the money on, and the money's there, and it was given to us, and it's not coming out of taxpayer dollars, then it's easier to get on board. But yeah, thanks for that reminder. But it's just not, it just seems so basic. And I'm not going to engage in the argument on whether it's art or not art. It just seems basic and kind of vanilla to me. I'm not excited about it for whatever that's worth. If we're told that it has to be used for this purpose, okay, I understand. I think I'd just like to see it say either the whole city or some other identifying features that somehow spell out a portion of the city. I don't know if I'm crazy about WAUK. I don't know if anybody wants to weigh in on this. I like the idea of the whole city being spelled out, understanding the financial impact of that decision at $20,000 a letter. I don't know, I'm torn. So that's me just kind of thinking out loud, forgive me.
I have a question.
How much more would it be to spell out the whole name?
well, if we kept them the same size, it would be,
Can we reduce the lettering a little bit?
we could ask them to requote it at a different size for more letters.
Where it would still be,
We could figure out what size the letters would have to be to fit in the horizontal space that we have there to spell out the entire word. That's a possibility.
who else had a question? Alderman Bolton?
Yeah, I just wanted to validate that. Yeah, can it be the calligraphy, maybe a larger W and then smaller print, spell it out? Yeah, if you could alter the lettering size.
We can certainly take a look at that if that's what the council would like.
That'd be good.
I myself would like to see Waukegan spelled out, not WKGN. So if that's something that we could do to amend the grant and what we're looking for and see what we can come back with. When do we have to use this? Is it time sensitive?
Right, so we're trying to expend it so that we can close out the grant and submit all the reports on time. Ideally, would like to have it completed by the end of the fiscal year. There's a manufacturing time period for this as well. So it's, order it and have enough time to receive it, install it.
Would you be able to bring some information back to us at the next meeting?
If you could refer it back to Community Development Committee for the December 2nd meeting.
Okay.
We'll try to bring more information.
I'll do
And
that. Can I get a motion? Do I need a motion to refer it back to Community Development?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, can I get a motion to refer it back to?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Alderman
second it.
Hayes, second by Alderman Donenworth. Roll call, please.
Alderman Guzman,
Aye.
Alderman Donenworth,
Aye.
Alderman Hayes,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye. Motion carried. Next, item 3, reports.
I'm out of order here, and maybe Ann Taylor and Kristen Richards in Springfield need to talk about what is in this grant, okay? I mean, I'm just a guy from down the street, but you all need to read this grant.
I'm sorry, sir, but we need to
I'm
move
out
on
of
with city
order,
business,
and
and we need to get
whatever.
down to the community hall. Thank you. Have a good day.
Item 3, reports and communications. Did anyone have any questions on the reports that we received and the outline from the Finance Department? Being none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Hayes, second by Alderman Guzman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned at 5:42. Thank you.